Then, of course, the lady says, but even if I were to give you food to eat, how would you accept it? How would you take it? The king says, just put it in my hand. I will take it with my hand. And all the people were looking at this guy that they'd never seen before. They were looking at him. Who is this guy? They wondered. All right. So he spoke like somebody with authority, but he looks like a beggar. But he is even so poor in his current state or his current fallen state that he doesn't even have the beggar's bowl. And some of the beggars wondered, he kind of looks like us, but he doesn't look like us. He looks different. He talks different. And his posture is different. But he looked kind of like he's saying some rough times, right? And so the one of the leprous guy whose fingers was missing took a hold of his chapati and rips it into two and gives it to the king. And the king says, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate that. And the other guy take a piece of meat from his bowl and gives it to the king. And the king says, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And just as the king closes his eye to say grace before he eats his food, a ravenous creature, a bird like a raven, just descends from the clear blue sky and grabs the chapati with one leg and grabs the meat with the other leg and disappears into the air, into the sky. And the king opens his eyes and there was no food in there. And he cries out, this is terrible. This suffering is too much. I want to die now. Just kill me. Just kill me, he cried. Kill me. Kill me, he cried. And just as he was crying out, right, his bodyguard shows up with sword drawn, trying to figure out what is going on, right? What is going on? And he asked the king, what is going on? The king takes one look at his bodyguard, the captain of his personal protection forces, and asks him, is this real or is that real? The king asked him that. Is this real or is that real? And the captain is confused. What do you mean, is this real or is that real? And just as he was debating with the captain as to what is real and what is not, his personal assistant, executive assistant, comes in with a bunch of files and says, sir, that your excellency, that your appointment is here to see you. And the king is like, is this real or is that real? And everybody who comes to the king will ask them the question, is this real or is that real? Well, to cut a long story short, this king had had a nightmare. And so the king was now involved in trying to tease out what is real and what is not, right? He had a nightmare the like of which he'd never had before. And he was so frightened by this nightmare, this dream that he had, that he was confusing that nightmare with reality. And so he would ask his people, is this real or is that real? Until finally his personal assistant invited one of the sages that walked in the court. And the sage came in and asked the king, so what's going on? And the king asked him, is this real or is that real? And finally, the sage took a look at the king and asked him the question, says, in that situation that you are wondering if it was real, was I in there? The king says, no. Was your bodyguard in there? The king says, no. Was your personal assistant in there? The king says, no. And the sage looks at the king one more time with all the compassion he can muster. And he says to the king, you see, neither is this situation real or that situation real. The only thing that is real is you. It's you, he says to the king. The only thing that is real in all of this scenario is you. So whether in the sleeping state or in the waking state or in the dream state or in whatever state you may be in, the only thing that is real, the sage says, is you. All right? And then the sage talks to him a little bit more and helps him to figure out that he'd been in some kind of a delusion, and that what he had seen in that dream state was some kind of an illusion that frightened him. And then the king was able to come out of there. And so some illusions are like that. You see a magician, a street magician, performing a card trick. Well, he's performing it because he wants to entertain, he wants to help people have fun. And some magicians are really good, and that's what they're doing. The magicians we saw in Montego Bay, Jamaica, that swallowed the samurai sword, that was probably the same, that was probably as long as he is or as tall as he is, and he swallows it. Well, he was involved in creating fun and creating some kind of harmless illusion for people. And so that's harmless. That kind of illusion is benign, but not all illusions are benign. Some illusions are intended to manipulate, they're intended to control, they're intended to deceive, and they're intended to take you captive. And we'll talk about some of that if time permits. But let me contrast illusion with reality for you. All right? There are many people who live in a persistent state of illusion or delusion, right? But and sometimes it's okay. Like I intentionally took my daughter to the show where she saw this magician swallow the sword. That's all right. That's for fun. And for a season, we were in that. We were a part of that. We participated in it. And the awe and the shock and the wonder, that was fun. That was interesting. But you don't want to live in a state of illusion or delusion for so long, right? So you want to, at some point, come away from illusion and enter into reality. And so what is the difference between illusion and reality? Well, the reality is the state of things that actually exist, all right? Reality is opposed to a notional idea, right? So there's no deception here. It's an unvanished state of affair. This is the way that things are. In real life, this is the way that things are, right? If you're traversing the spiritual path that the sages have said is precarious and perilous and sharper than a razor's edge, then you want to know what is real and what's an illusion, right? So you don't want to go the path of the illusion. You want to focus on what is real, all right? And so the question is, when can you expect illusions in life? Well, deceptions and illusions are endemic in our world. And that is why the scripture tells us to be alert and sober-minded, because your enemy is like, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for somebody to devour. So, and how does he do that? He doesn't just show up and show you that he's looking to devour you. Or as the scripture says, that the thief comes to steal and to kill and to destroy. How do they steal and kill and destroy? If they come with the sword and the knife and the bomb and the daggers, then you'll be able to figure out the intention. That the intention isn't good, and then you may make a run for it, right? If it comes like a lion, literally like a lion, then you may make a run for it, or you may attack him back or mount a counteroffensive, right? But he doesn't come that way. He comes with illusions, and he comes with deceptions, and he comes with manipulation, and he comes with, he will sing you a lullaby if he has to, just like the snake sang to Mowgli in the Jungle Book, right? And sing you to sleep and make you think that you're safe, but you're not.